Welcome to this explainer. Right, let's jump straight into this, because today we're looking at something absolutely profound. We're going to dive directly into the precise second-by-second biological cascade that happens the exact moment your heart stops beating. We are looking strictly at the hard science and the intense biological reality of those first 60 seconds.
So what biologically happens to your cells and your brain in that very first minute? We naturally assume that clinical death is just this quiet fade to black, right? Like a computer simply powering down. But as we unpack the hard data today, you're going to see that this first minute is actually a highly active, totally explosive biological state. Your body doesn't just stop, it reacts furiously.
To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to use a strict chronological timeline as our guide. From 0 seconds when the heart stops, to 10 seconds when the cortex shuts down, 30 seconds with the anaerobic shift, all the way to autolysis at the 60-second mark.
Okay, let's start at second 0. Your heart stops. In a fraction of a second, your blood pressure completely bottoms out. Exactly 5 liters of blood instantly stops circulating through your body. Without the pump, there's zero flow, and more importantly, zero delivery of fresh oxygen.
And this creates an immediate, totally wild biological paradox. For those first 10 seconds, your oxygen-hungry brain, which, by the way, usually hogs about 20% of your body's oxygen, has absolutely no idea the pump has stopped. Externally, the body appears completely lifeless. But internally, your neurons are still firing away normally, running entirely on whatever leftover oxygen is just lingering in your stagnant blood. Technically, you are still completely you.
But right at the 10-second mark, that leftover oxygen runs dry. The cerebral cortex, the part of your brain responsible for conscious thought, realizes the deliveries have stopped and begins to shut down. This is the exact moment your eyes stop processing images, your ears stop registering sound, and you completely lose outward consciousness. From the outside, you look 100% gone. However, the internal biology tells a radically different story. A really groundbreaking 2023 study by neuroscientist Dr. Jimo Borginen at the University of Michigan looked at 4 comatose patients being taken off life support. They expected the brain to just slowly wind down. Instead, in 2 of the 4 patients, within seconds of losing oxygen, the dying brain experienced a massive, highly organized surge of gamma waves. And gamma waves are the ones associated with heightened awareness, memory retrieval, and dreaming.
Now, what's literally mind-blowing here is where this surge happened. This gamma wave explosion wasn't just random static. It was structurally concentrated right in the temporal parieto-occipital junction. That's a very specific brain region that research directly links to visual processing and out-of-body sensations. So this actually gives us a hard neurological link to those profound experiences people always report after being resuscitated. The sheer magnitude of this organized electrical storm in the brain was so unexpected and honestly so intense that Dr. Borginen bluntly described the spike in her own findings as, quote, crazy high. The brain isn't fading at all. It's firing on absolutely all cylinders in a desperate final surge of energy. So, what does this mean for us? Well, this gamma surge might biologically explain that famous life flashing before your eyes phenomenon. And it's not always your graduation or wedding day that flashes back. It's often deeply buried, obscure stuff. Like one resuscitated young man vividly recalled seeing a neighbor's white cat on a specific staircase. He later confirmed the details with his mom, who told him they moved out of that exact building when he was only 14 months old. There's no way he should remember that. It really makes you wonder, does this final electrical surge somehow unlock the entire hidden archive of your brain?
All right, let's push forward to the 30-second mark on our timeline. We're going to shift our focus away from the fireworks in the brain and zoom way down to the microscopic level of your body's 37 trillion individual cells, because by now, the oxygen deprivation is becoming critical across the entire system.
As that absolute last tiny bit of oxygen runs out, your cells realize they are literally starving. To survive, they desperately pivot to a backup mechanism called anaerobic respiration. Now, this backup does produce energy without oxygen, but it comes with a massive cost. The dangerous byproduct is a rapid, heavy buildup of lactic acid inside the body.
So the biological cascade right at this 30-second mark is just brutal. Oxygen flow completely stops. The cells switch to their anaerobic backup. Lactic acid aggressively builds up. And because of that intense acidity, the protective cell membranes themselves begin to weaken and fail. Think about the incredible juxtaposition happening right at this moment. Externally, your muscles aren't getting brain signals anymore, so they relax completely. The jaw drops open, eyelids go slack, and pupils dilate and fix. The body is entirely quiet. But internally, it's absolute biological chaos, as 37 trillion cells are essentially drowning in lactic acid.
Yet despite those fixed pupils and slack muscles, consciousness might still be lingering. Dr. Sam Parnia published the massive AWARE-2 study in 2023 examining hundreds of cardiac arrest patients, and the findings were stunning. 40% of survivors reported some perception of consciousness while clinically dead, 20% had a recalled experience of death, and 3% actually reported full visual and auditory awareness. They were hearing and seeing things while their heart was completely stopped.
And what exactly are they experiencing in that state? Well, the data impartially shows us that this biological shutdown is overwhelmingly described as peaceful. It's consistently reported as not painful, dark, or empty. Many people describe a feeling of deep peace and very often visual encounters with deceased relatives. Whether this is just the dying brain creating a final comforting hallucination from that gamma search we talked about, or something else entirely, the biological reality of the experience is remarkably serene.
Which brings us right to the 60-second mark on our timeline. We've officially reached a critical state of biological limbo. Your body temperature hasn't really changed much yet, and your brain cells can technically still survive for another 4 to 6 minutes without permanent, irreversible damage.
But if the heart is still stopped at this 1-minute mark, that acid buildup we just looked at reaches a breaking point. The weakened cell membranes can't hold on anymore. Enzymes start leaking out, which triggers a biological process called autolysis. And autolysis literally means self-digestion. Your own cells actually begin to break themselves down.
So at exactly 60 seconds, your cells are caught between two distinct realities. From a medical perspective, they're still structurally whole, just sitting there waiting for CPR or a defibrillator to deliver life-saving oxygen and reverse this whole crazy cascade. I mean, people come back from this exact moment every single day. But from an existential perspective, if no intervention arrives, that highly active, explosive 60-second window you just went through, that was your final minute.
You know, people who survive this don't usually come back wanting more money or status. They almost always return with a profound desire for more time in the mundane, ordinary moments. The moments they didn't think anyone was paying attention to. But as we've learned in this explainer today, your brain was actually recording all of it. So I want to leave you with this final thought. If your surging brain really did record every single ordinary Tuesday, unlocking its entire archive in a brilliant flash of gamma waves, what forgotten memories will it choose to play back for you in your final 60 seconds?